cool. We get this underway. Let's have a good time today as the World Cup officially begins for the Americas.
And we're seeing two different comps coming out here for each of these teams. For Chile, you're seeing a dive comp come out here, especially on this map. Dive does have its really good chance of success. On the other side, though, for Costa Rica, it's going straight Coke. Artorias on this Domino. We've seen Domino these past couple days be really, really strong against a lot of different competitions. It's going to be very, very difficult here for Chile. I think they get going because of how much pressure and space that Domino is able to get out of a lot of teams.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see moving forward right now. Both teams, though, operate with a lot of speed, a lot of damage working right now. Frag has to be a little careful. Walking into that Domino, but for the time being, Chile has taken over the point. But still, everybody's still alive, hanging around. But Spooky getting rid of Eli to get this one rocking and rolling. This could be a quick flip coming through, but Dextrack more than happy to try to even the odds. Unfortunately, does have to surrender the point at only 12% if they're going to have, I imagine, a momentary regroup.
Yeah, I think you're going to have Costa Rica kind of back out here. Without there, Lucio will be able to speed around, especially the Domino, but no! Artorias and Kale find Bert and Crack out immediately. That's going to keep the point in their control here as Chile almost actually takes it right back with Kale again, finding Eli out. And I think this is going to be very interesting now for Chile. What swaps do we see from him, if we see any? Frack likes to play this Winston. We saw it a lot in the tryouts, but isn't really going to work against this Domino because that Domino has so much to really stop a lot of dive tanks out there. And yeah, you could easily say all you need to do is wait for Domino to use their abilities. That's the hard thing. Domino's abilities are one ability that stuns and one ability that does a lot of burst damage.
Oh no, 110%. So we'll see how things proceed moving forward. Kel already starting to suffer a little bit. Bert eventually going to get the final blow to get things going for Team Chile. Artorias is super cut off from everybody else, and now it is realistically going to be this long game. But Stick comes through. Spooky's already gotten rid of two, trying to pull this one back around right here. DPS bolt down. Spooky eventually going to be cleared out, though. No more touches left, as you should be able to regroup for your Team Chile.
Yeah, LCS can go back and taxi their fallen teammates back into the point here, but Spooky finding two right there was really big. However, you would love to hold on to the pulse bomb, but hey, you never know what happens if they find maybe one more after that. You look over though at Chile now. Pulse bomb beat, Primal Rage, and Overclock about to be online for them. Wed does have that Kitsune Rush online, but they're going to have to deal with this first kind of fight here.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb just going to barely miss out, but it's not going to matter a whole lot. Frack has already killed two in this engagement. We'd love to be able to stay alive through it all, and you should be able to see Artorias be burnt away, but Frack goes down as a result, but it's not going to hurt a whole lot. But again, Spooky finding these late eliminations.
I mean, again, this is going to be the biggest problem, I think, for this Chilean team throughout this entire first map, or maybe this first point, just dealing with Spooky. Spooky, I mean, we called their name a lot in those tryouts and through a lot of the show matches we saw Costa Rica do. They are someone that once they get hot, they kind of just stay hot consistently. There's really no slowing them down, but LCS is going to be able to shut them down here pretty early on.
Yeah, no, 100%. Opening up the door much more, gets rid of one within Frack, hoping to take down Benji, and now 73% and counting. Artorias is again surrounded. Gonna be picked off here momentarily. Again, late elimination for Wed in the scenario, but Reset, still some really good ultimates for both sides online.
Yeah, on a quick thing, someone's saying the game is really loud. But yeah, a lot of ultimates online for both these two teams. You have both beats ready to go. I think that's a big thing in this fight. However, this Panopticon, that could just negate a beat on its own, and it could only really force it to hit on LCS if they get trapped in it. So either they have to use it early or they have to use it late. But someone right now from Costa Rica needs to get a touch. There's the touch out. Spooky, though, coming up to another pulse bomb here. Watch out for a stick.
Yep, big B from Benji right here. Panopticon online. It's pretty much causing Bert to have no value over on that overclock right now. Keldo eventually going to be the first one. Base stuck over onto the bubble. Not going to get a whole lot, but it's going to start seeing the beginning of the end here. Big stick over onto Artorias as Spooky. Last one remaining like usual, but no turnaround this time for Costa Rica. First round will go over to Team Chile. Very back and forth there, but especially those last couple of fights. Man, Chile was shutting them down.
Shutting them down, and they were shutting them down early. I think that was the big thing in a lot of these fights. This dive composition means that they want to be the first ones to really engage. What you're seeing from Costa Rica, on the other hand, is, yeah, they're playing, just the exact same comp minus the tank. And I think Artorias on this Domino, while, yeah, Domino is really strong at the moment, has a lot of abilities that can really make Frack's life a living hell. I think you really need to have something that, a support that can kind of be with Artorias, almost essentially as a pocket, whether that's a brig or whether that's something else. Right now, that definitely could be the way they need to go. But right now, I do think Chile got off to the start they were looking for there. Yeah, it was not necessarily the first fight they wanted, even though they got the first point gap, but they were able to come back into it. And really, Spooky was the only problem they dealt with that entire first point there.
Oh no, 110%. And now you go into this next one. Nothing changing up for either side, so they're confident in what they're running here to get things going right now. But Spooky really is the one to watch out for. Spooky has gotten a large majority of these final blows to try to keep fights going. And now it's really just about trying to find those picks a little bit earlier, create a little more sense of room to be able to work with here. But point has unlocked. No one daring to step on, at least for the moment. But Chile making their way on Spooky, forced to recall out of there, unfortunately. Eli, though, he's going to be the first one to eventually get tracked down right here. And Cal now got rid of 2 to get this fight rocking and rolling. This time, it is Costa Rica getting off to a good start.
Yeah, and this is a much better point for Costa Rica. I think a little bit more of the openness that last point was on Gardens was just a little bit better for Chile. This is a little bit more close-quartered map here on University that really allows Artorias to find a little bit more value, but Eli and Spooky, especially for Eli, they have to be kind of just always watching where Spooky is here. As you already see Spooky trying to get the one clip there on the FX, not going to be able to find it, though. Now, though, they're still going after them.
Yeah, 100% Artorias, though. Big pick over on FX. Should be able to shut down this fight before it even really properly begins. There's still a bit of an engagement right now as Eli's hoping to find a later pick right now, but Artorias is a little out of place right now. Is going to be burnt down. This is possible for Chile to come back. You should try to keep everybody alive. LCS down as Bert is going to try to turn this one around. Has managed to get rid of one. Unfortunately, not even going to... Actually does get a flip out on this one right now. I don't know if you can regroup it with Pell down. I think you can't.
And Wed barely going to be able to get out with their life. No, Frack actually finds him with a right click there. Huge play, because that now staggers out Costa Rica here for a little bit longer. And Bert, yeah, they did find one with that overclock, but let's just be honest. If they weren't killed there, they would have been sliding off the map. But you look over at Chile now. They have a pulse bomb. They have a primal rage. That's really it. On the other side, though, for Costa Rica, you have your pulse bomb. You have both your support with it, so you're in a really good spot here for them to quickly come back in and take this point back fast. Because I think right now the one thing for Costa Rica, you do not want to allow them to get off to a hot start. And against Spooky,
what? Spooky, my boy! They have families, I swear!
They don't care.
They do not care. No care whatsoever, and that fight is over quickly.
Like I said, you had the ultimates there for Costa Rica to come back in and win that fight quickly. However, you did not need to invest the Kitsune Rush there for WedTube. I understand why they used it, but Spooky single-handedly won the fight on their own. Now, though, because those ultimates are used there, you still see 3 ready for Costa Rica, but you're going to have 3, 4 ready for Chile here. But this is a fight. This is a very important fight for Chile, because if you lose it, you basically put yourself in the final fight territory here. And the longer you go, the worse chance you get. Nice stick, though.
Yeah, Artorias goes down as a result. Big opportunity to flip this one back over. All you can really do at this point is stall things out right now is you're going to have one at a time move over onto the point, but the point's going to flip back over. Kel is now in no man's land. Will eventually be taken down, and Bert is clicking bodies one after another. Benji going to get a little bit of revenge, but it's not going to matter. The wipe coming through is, again, still some really good ultimates to the table, but FX's Kitsune Rush should be the most viable.
Should be the most viable. You still have the beat there for LCS. But you see the Panopticon coming up here for Artorias. Again, you have to be wary of that if you're LCS, not to get caught in it and use the beat and only hit yourself here. But Spooky already just rotating around to the backside of the map. Again, this is going to be a very important thing throughout this entire series, that one of these DPS players for Chile has to be focusing on Spooky if they're going to keep on doing this.
Yeah, 100%, and now this could be a big defining fight. Realistically, final fight coming up here for Chile. Things go their way. Beat has been used here. LCS is going to have those ready to go. Only catches on to 3. Eventually, 4 members here as Frack going to go with that primal rage. Super aggression coming through, and it's Costa Rica falling apart one after another, cleared away, and now it is going to be a bum rush up here for trying to touch the point here. Spooky, the only one living, needs to keep running.
And they are running with all their life right now, but they're being chased down by a very angry gorilla, but they're doing a good job just dodging everything. Now you see a couple more members come back. Eli gonna be able to find their counterpart, but who's the touch? There will be overtime here for Costa Rica. You see Artorias will go over to the Jungle Queen. Is this gonna be what gets them over the finish line here? But they need to find something else.
Oh, yeah, but it's not gonna be found right here. Big Planet coming through. Bert able to finish off the last 2. Spooky will not be there in time. Bert finishing strongly. Team Chile going to take the first map of this first to 2 series, looking really good in the process, honestly.
Yeah, looking really good. I mean, this is kind of what we expected to see from, I think, both these teams coming out the gate. I actually want to see this play from Spooky. This is definitely the 2K pulse bomb because, again, this single-handedly won them this fight. Oh, they slid into LCS. They had to slide into LCS right there. Incredible play there by Spooky to be able to find that. But then they just weren't able to kind of come back from it. And like I said, Weds, as we're seeing it in this game, just invest in the consumer rush there. I understand why they used it because, I mean, I imagine at that time they were probably being pressured out by the Winston and not knowing that Spooky was going to find 3. I think that consumer rush usage there, again, makes sense in the grand scheme of the fight, but in the grand scheme of the map, it's kind of thing that maybe cost them a little bit later down the line. But again, I think we saw Chile play really good. They were able to bounce back from almost every fight that they lost, almost coming back and winning the next fight. I don't think we ever saw Chile lose 2 fights in a row. I think that's going to be something very important for a lot of these teams in this Conference Cup to be able to say, like, hey, if we do not lose 2 fights in a row, you're going to be pretty much putting yourself in a good spot there. Costa Rica, on the other hand, again, this was a team that we talked about being one of those best teams that we saw in the early parts of the year with all the show matches. Through tryouts, they still looked really good. Now, though, that's the real deal. I think you're really starting to see a little bit of different performances out of a lot of these players. And so far, I mean, like I talked about with that interview or podcast I did with Ben and LCS for Team Chile, I thought that DPS line for Chile was going to be something that really carried them in a lot of fights. But Frack, I think, was the difference maker for them in that entire map.
No, a massive difference in that instance. Again, this is one of the few players that we went into this not knowing a whole lot. Because we've seen a lot of other tanks kind of come and go throughout the trials. And Frack came up, and again, we were like, I don't know how it's going to go, going to things. At least for this first map, looks amazing, honestly. Again, being extremely comfortable over on that Winston, this really aggressive style, which we know a lot of these other Chile players, like Bert, love to be aggressive if they have the chance to. And I think this is a really good pairing that Costa Rica is struggling against a little bit in this instance. But again, they have found points of success, and there are definitely more to find down the line. But again, it's a much smaller area of time to try to figure out what your response is.
Yeah, and you also have to remember the Chilean team you talked about, they will love to play aggressively. Their support line's not afraid to get their hands dirty. I mean, you saw LCS in one of those fights on Gardens find the first pick and get rid of Spooky pretty early on. I mean, normally in that scenario, you kind of always see the Lucio lose. And I've described LCS when they play Lucio as that perfect balance between knowing when to be aggressive and knowing just when to kind of sit back and let their teammates kind of pick up the load right there. And I think that's something that's going to be very important. But still, Costa Rica could easily bounce back. They should have the next map pick, and they also get first ban, which means, hey, if you don't want to deal with the Winston, you might get rid of it now.
Yeah, you just might. Obviously, I don't know if we have a way of properly seeing bans elsewise. Which is, I don't think so. It's a little more on the unfortunate side, and we don't really have the ability to just ask certain people about it. But regardless of that being the case, obviously we'll we'll know a little bit more as things go along. Things will get a little more cleaned up. It is what it is. But going forward, whatever our next map may or may not be, I'm sure we'll get some kind of preview here shortly. And yeah, you're right. But it's optimism is my best friend.
To the map.
Oh, yeah, man.
So just so everyone knows, this is not like how me and Hunter normally do these streams. We are not in the lobbies. This is actually a clean feed being provided to us by Overwatch Esports themselves tonight. So if you want certain angles, you want certain views, we are unfortunately not the people to talk to. So we are graciously being provided a clean feed by Overwatch Esports to cover these games here tonight. Again, thank you for them. Thank you to them for allowing us to come in here and do these, and allowing essentially everyone who filled out that form that wanted to do it tonight. I think that's the best thing they could have done for World Cup, especially for the Americas and Asia, as those two conference cups are going on this weekend. EMEA will take place in a month from now.
Yeah, I believe it's like April 16th, 17th, 18th, something in that regard. It is about a month away. Which, hey, fun enough, got to watch Greece and South Africa earlier today. Really fun game. There was a show match with Turkey that went on as well. against Belgium as well. Those both ended up being an absolute fun time. So there's a lot more with EMEA, obviously, to come a little further down the line. But as to where we are right now and what we're experiencing, we expect a full fight back from Costa Rica. This is not a country, this is not a group of players that takes a loss sitting down. They fight back hard, and we'll see if they can fight back into our next map, potential last one of this first match. We're going over to Esperanza.
And immediately getting a pause, which happy. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a pause coming in because it gives us some time to talk about this. Looks like neither one of these teams bringing in their subs. Kind of expected. I will say this. Looks like at least Chile reordered their team so that it's DPS tank and supports, much like it was for Costa Rica that first map. But I think the biggest thing for Costa Rica going into this map is going to be, what do we see Artorias play? I don't think the Domino's really looking for that, was getting that kind of value they were looking for. Again, like I said, I thought there were points where the Domino would really do well, and it was there for moments. But like I said, one thing, Costa Rica never won 2 fights in a row that map. You saw constantly Chile win 1, 2, 3 fights in a row before they would lose one. I think you need to make a swap here right now, over at least at the tank line for Costa Rica, to give yourself a little bit better chance. But again, we don't know what the bans are. Winston could be banned out, or hell, the Kiri could be banned out. We'll try to take an educated guess, but while this isn't necessarily the best Winston map in the game, you still see him played a decent amount of the time.
Oh, 100% you do. Why not? Winston, despite what you might think, can still be very strong, especially if you have a really aggressive team. And guess what? Frack has a very aggressive team, but we're seeing, obviously, nothing solidified until we get out the door. I did see a Reinhardt earlier today from Greece, so, you know, you never know.
That's Greece.
It is Greece, to be fair. But we'll see momentarily, Dex. I'm not going to read too much into each side as they're changing.
I'll say Frack sticking on the Domino. I don't necessarily know if I'd like it that much. Same reason why I didn't really like the Domino last map. I think it's a little bit more open, and I think the Domino, you really need a lot of value from your support or your DPS to come in. And yeah, like I said, this DPS line for Chile might be one of the best here in the Conference Cups. But you're seeing Vendettas come out here, and Artorias, I think, playing that Zarya is really going to allow Spooky to kind of get the same performance we saw in the last map on the Tracer. And at this point, I have to imagine that Tracer's banned out.
I have to imagine as well. Elsewise, I think we would definitely see it on the line here already. But elsewise, it's completely mirror outside of those tanks. It's weird because obviously Zarya pairs out really well with the Vendetta. But again, Domino very strong in her own right. So we'll see how it ends up going down as that point. Be moving right now over for Team Costa Rica as they're trying to get some kind of early elim here. Would love to get rid of Frack early if possible, but Eli needs to be careful if their situation goes for a momentary push. Unfortunately, everyone from Costa Rica kind of backed out the opposite way.
Both teams taking this first fight very safely. They don't want to make the first mistake here, especially with as far as you're seeing Chile get this card pushed here. If they win a fight, they probably get themselves the checkpoint at this point.
Yeah, this is getting dangerous already right now. You have to worry about keeping Artorias alive, though, because obviously that's big. But Spooky's down. The combo's gone, and now this is going to be rough to come back from. You almost have to back out of here and keep everybody alive, but you don't even get that opportunity. And now, late elim's coming through, and now I think they get a retouch.
It would be tough. I think you're going to see Chile, like you're already seeing Bert, push up a little bit. That probably means that LCS or Eli is right there next to them, because it's probably not, I don't know, Frack is up there with them. So you're going to see a fight come out here from Chile pretty early just to try to get themselves those forward checkpoints. And yeah, Hunter, just over a minute and a half into our second map. I mean, we've seen fast caps on this point before, or this map before, but I feel like this might be one of the fastest we've ever seen.
This 100% is, like, for all intents and purposes. That's the scenario that we're in now, and now you're going to see maybe a little bit more safeness here from Chile coming up. Spooky, though, gets taken care of. Safeness might be going out the door. You can agree with the 5v4. You have a Kitsune Rush early. You could choose to get a ton of lead here if you make the choice to.
I like what LCS is doing here, just chasing down Artorias, but now they need to get themselves out of a sticky situation. Same thing with EFX, who decided to go up there and try to help their support brethren there. But you're going to see Costa Rica come back in pretty quickly, get Kitsune Rush ready for them. I imagine you're going to see dueling Kitsune Rushes out here pretty early on as FX can actually use their first just to try to keep their team alive.
Yeah, trying their best here right now. Double overclock, ready to go right here. Beats have to be used as well, but Benji's too far behind, barely gets into time. Artorias doesn't get caught with it though. Gets super low. Graviton Surge came out, caught into a bunch of people, and it's the Kalino squad coming through. Burt, last one remaining. Well, it should just inevitably accept the death right there, as everybody at the very least look at the forward spawns, but that is a much needed flight win right there for Costa Rica.
I mean, Hunter, it's like a Wendy's. It was a 4 for 4 there in ultimate charge, or ultimates being invested. I mean, each team used 4. That was a pretty heavy ult fight for a fight that I really didn't think we would see that much from, but you could kind of tell that I think at least Costa Rica understood that the gravity of that fight, and Chile responded with them as well. As Frack gonna find Kale before anything gets going here. Spooky's Thundering Blade, not gonna find anything, but Artorias does shut down Eli.
Yeah, but Benji got to play a little carefully right now. Spooky's in a very similar situation. He needs to be careful to not be separated. But again, they managed to flip it over. You lose out on Wed. And now, again, 5's being stolen away. But at this point, it's less of a steal and more of a, hey, we're winning the fight kind of thing.
And I think the most important thing in that engagement right there was the fact you actually got that the forward spawns away from Chile, meaning that Eli is still kind of making their way back into this fight. They're going to be here momentarily, but they have their Sundering Blade. That's the only ultimate ready at the moment. And you're looking for them to be able to find something, or treat it like how a Deadeye is mostly used, just buying some space.
Oh, no. Ooh. And Artorias is down. Oh. Sundering Blade from behind. Eli saying, oh, there's nobody here. We'll find targets anyway. Spooky is down in Frack. Is likely not going to be long for this world, as Eli is kind of hanging around over on Spooky. Wants to find another person, desperately trying to, as everyone is able to run away here, as Wed is trying to get out. Will not, though.
I think right now, I mean, we still have half the map or time bank left to go here, but Chile is showing themselves to the world right now. This is a team in a country that has, I think, always kind of been in the shadow of maybe some of these other teams, especially like Brazil, but I think they're ready, and they are coming out of the gates on fire. You have the beat ready for Benji. Wed not that far away from a Consumer Rush, but you look over at Burt, you look over at Frack. Those two ultimates can really win you a fight pretty early on.
Yep, 100% can. That Panopticon could be used here to end this one right now. Benji does have the sound barrier to win this fight. Burt immediately clicks the head of Val. Oh my god, Spooky. Gets immediate revenge though, so should potentially stem a little bit of that bleeding right here. Hopefully, to do a little something right here, as Spooky eventually will go down. So instead, even though you have those closer spawns, Kitsune Rush might be needed here momentarily.
Hey, you're gonna need it since you're down 2 members right now, and Frack barely staying alive. Beat from LCS in time to keep him up.
The Panopticon catches on to 2, the only 2 that are still left over on the point right there, and everyone's being cleared here quickly. It's just Benji having to run back onto the point. The last speck of survival left for this team, but they're being chased down. Everyone's bum rushing to make it back to the point. A point that will get touched by a millisecond, but nothing more than that. It is a Chile sweep to get the day started. If you had any doubts about them, they have been ceased.
Frack 19-1 on that map. LCS 10-1 as well. Wed getting play of the game, but this was Chile through and through this map. And you could really go back to the first fight of this map, in my opinion. How kind of back and forth it was. Neither team wanted to make that first mistake, essentially. I think you saw the disengage from Costa Rica, which was smart, but you allowed, I think, Chile to maybe get a little bit too far up with their push and just put themselves into a spot where they really wanted that fight. Like I said, that Domino a little bit better in those close quarters areas. Yeah, I know they're a poke tank. They're described as the first true poke tank since Sigma, but because of the abilities that Domino has, she's scary in the close quarters. But you saw it right there, that DPS line for Chile. I think they left their mark in that map, especially, but still a really good performance here from Chile out the gate. They have another game, one more game here tonight. It will be their next game, which I believe me and you are covering as well. Yes. So right now, I think if you're Chile, you're looking at potentially going 2-0 tonight and putting yourself in a really, really good spot for, I believe, the 3 or 4 games they have tomorrow.